Hi, hello, I'm Celery, or you can call me Cel, and I'm an illustrator with a love for all things like stationery and journaling, which, hey, that's what we're gonna be talking about today. So for someone who loves sketching and journaling, I feel like I don't actually do a whole ton of journal or sketchbook tours, and I guess that's because I don't actually end up finishing notebooks very consistently. I tend to skip around a lot, if I'm being honest. But I am super proud to say that I do have an it's very, very close to being done, sketch journal to share with you guys today. So this video is actually being split into 2 parts, and so for today we are going to be doing a flip through and tour of this B6 trifold. It's a little bit of like an ugly sketchbook, a little bit of junk journaling, and a little bit of morning pages. We're just gonna chat about it. Now, it has been a little while since I did a journal tour, and I don't think any of my sketchbook tours exist on this channel, but I'm very excited because these are actually some of my favorite videos to make, even though I don't make them very often. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this might actually be my favorite journal that I have ever used. The cover is by Hand Stitched Leather Tea, and it's their Legacy Trifold, and the leather is in the color Fieno, which is like the super gorgeous and warm orangey color. And I admit that I ordered this specific trifold style cover with the intent to kind of have like a Louise Carmen dupe, but specifically for B6 size notebooks. So I got this Hand Stitched Leather Tea cover in the B6 slim size, but to use with B6 size notebooks so that it would like intentionally have this like overhang type look. So I did do like a few little customizations here and there. So I did take a rotary cutter and I cut these corners to be slightly more rounded. So when this came to me, it only had 2 holes here, and also like you can't see it because all these charms are in the way, but also 2 holes here. But you know, in an effort to kind of like Louise Carmen-ish this cover, I did punch extra holes in so that I could string it up like a Louise Carmen. So now I have 4 elastics technically in this notebook. And then I also added these metal grommets. And then lastly, I did change out the elastic that my Hand Stitched Leather Tea came with. It had like a 2mm thick elastic, so I switched out the 2mm for a 1.5mm. So it's only a 0.5mm difference, but I swear it makes such a huge impact over like how it feels to like open and close this, and also like how the elastics sit in your notebooks and like hold them in place. It just feels a lot less clunky. And then of course I have charms as you can see. So this wind charm, I picked it up from the Traveler's Company shop in Narita Airport on our Japan trip. And then on the sides, I have a little ladybug charm for luck, but also because I love ladybugs. And I have this crystal heart charm that I got from the Renaissance Festival last summer. We also have a little protective evil eye charm and this key that I got from a thrift store in Salem, and also this wooden pug charm that used to be on a necklace that I bought from Artist Alley on our first visit to DC AwesomeCon back in, I want to say 2017. More recently, I did add one of my new fountain pen charms that I made. I actually ended up mixing and matching my 3 fountain pen charms to like my 3 current favorite notebooks. My Hand Stitched Leather Tea got like the classic fountain pen. My Louise Carmen right here got the celestial fountain pen. And then my Olive Traveler's Notebook got the floral fountain pen. And I think they all matched their respective notebooks really well. So for my journal inserts, I have this cork pocket insert by Oribu Shop on Etsy. I use the zip pocket as like a pen pouch to keep all of my most used pens, pencils, and like erasers. And then in the pockets right here, I just have some sticky notes, some business cards, and then I have a few bits of ephemera. And I also have my page flags in here. And then sitting inside right here, this is a B6 Slim Midori notebook. This is my pen and color swatch reference book. Basically, I'm trying to turn this into like a bullet journal collections type insert, but for specifically just art material swatches. In the back here, I was carrying my little sigil crafting notebook, since I just like to have that close at hand. And then I also have this Hobonichi Weeks sized memo notebook that I tucked the front cover into like this back slip pocket here, and I use it as like a page reference book. And so it's kind of great because when I have my notebook open right here, I can just also have this like flipped out, and I can like make the notes as I want to. And there's nothing anymore in this back pocket, but this is where I would typically tuck like random junk and ephemera that I collect from just being like out and about and that I want to like tape or glue into my journal. And so now for the journal itself. So this is a B6 plus size soft cover Leuchtturm notebook. I don't know, this is just like one of the most perfect notebooks to use for sketching and journaling, in my opinion, because it's not perfect. It's like perfectly imperfect enough that I'm drawn to making a mess in it, or like not afraid to make a mess in it, I guess I should say. And then of course, like because the paper is like a little bit on the thinner side, you can see ghosting, which I adore in like any notebook or sketchbook that I use. Honestly, like art or sketchbook pro tip, if you are someone that fears the blank page, get yourself a sketchbook that has like slightly thinner paper that doesn't bleed through, at least not too much, but it is like thin enough to like allow for ghosting, because that way like the hardest thing is just getting through the first page, but then like every spread after that, it becomes like way less intimidating because it doesn't feel like truly blank whenever you start on a new spread, because you'll still see like the kind of like ghosting from like the previous page. So it just feels like a lot more inviting, I guess, in my opinion. And I'm trying to remember like the thought process or like the state of mind that I was in when I decided to start this. I want to say that I was feeling like pretty down and burnt out about my digital art like early spring of last year. So I decided that what I needed was to restart like a traditional sketchbook practice. And to do that, I wanted like a truly dedicated ugly sketchbook. So like for the record, by the way, I'm not saying that I think my sketches are ugly, and if I do, I kind of call them ugly in a loving way, but like I'm kind of calling it an ugly sketchbook as more of like a state of mind to be in order to keep this like a creative safe space. Like it's somewhere to like encourage like exploration and experimentation without like the pressures of having like a final or like a finished result. A name that right off the bat tells my mind that nothing I make in this even has to be palatable or understandable to anyone but me. So something that I did try to do at the very beginning was like gesture drawings and like warm-ups at least a couple times a week when I first started. So to do that, I used lineofaction.com for like a lot of the poses, and like I used to be so much better at gestures back in college, but I've fallen off a lot in recent years, and I do think that like the figures in my art have become pretty stiff as a result. So I would love to bring back like movement into my art and like weight to the bodies and like things like that, but it's hard, guys. So I definitely still need to do more gesture warm-ups in my life. I did start playing Stardew Valley for the first time ever last spring. So this was my farmer girl. And I do have this fear, by the way, of using color in my sketchbooks, but I did add color in this case, and I do think it ruined the sketch, but I don't actually care, and I still love it because, hey, ugly sketchbook. And it showed me what not to do, so learning experience. Love that for us. Some swatches, more gesture drawings. So I drew our typical vacation outfits that Sal and I wore when we went to Japan. We did end up buying like matching cardigans because we only packed like warm weather clothes, but like the mornings in Kyoto were like a lot colder than we expected. But this is like the outfits that we wore, just like comfy, breezy, with layers. Shane from Stardew Valley, I just felt like it. Although I feel like I should draw Harvey sometime though. Like I think he might actually be my favorite, I'm not sure. And then an inexplicable urge to draw angry vegetable doodles. And then I do tend to do sometimes business or idea notes or like brainstorming in like little spaces and margins or like on the whole spreads like this. This was a page of some style experiments to try and figure out how I would draw certain things like trees or rocks or hair. I do oddly like really like this rock. My friend convinced me to finally watch My Hero Academia last year. I love Toga so much and like her super unhinged nature. I want to draw psycho girlies so bad, but I don't know how to capture like that vibe. And so when I tried drawing her, I knew that it was not going to turn out right, like not how I have it in my mind. So I did like a little bit of like self-analysis of like why it did not come out the way that I wanted. Basically applied these notes to this girl here, which I think came out a lot more how I wanted her to. So it works, you know? I was also listening to a lot of like horror anthology podcasts again, once more. Like, am I ever not actually? So this is like another rare instance of using color in my sketchbooks, but I do think it turned out better. This time I made myself try out like more limited color palettes, which I really enjoyed working with actually. I definitely overworked this cloud though. It's not as clean as I would have liked it to be, but that's fine. I think the reference for this was like a photo that I found on Pinterest. I don't like this. I feel like I definitely overworked the hair, and the flowers are like totally lost in it unless I like, I don't know, added some color to like bring them out, which I'm not gonna do if I'm being honest. more tree experiments. I also never really draw animals, but I wanted to give a shot at a hamster. I don't like these ones. I don't like how they turned out, but they were the precursors that got me to drawing this one of my hamster Kuma in my most recent Meet the Artist. So this page did help me in a way to figure out what I did or didn't like when it came to trying to draw a hamster in like my style. I taped in these test prints of my new business cards after I did like a redesign of them for like the first time in forever. This was a page of just pen only doodles. I just wanted to try to like sketch some like shapes and concepts without sketching them out with the pencil first. This one actually, like I did take this concept and then I turned it into a finished drawing, and it is like one of my most favorite pieces now. We have some thumbnails for like future concepts and like more pen swatching from like an acrylic paint pen set that I got, and an Ochako sketch. The one on the bottom is like an abomination. It reminds me of like why I like pencil sketching first, but also why I could probably use more practice with pen only sketching to like, I don't know, be a little bit more confident and like make less pen only sketches that don't turn out right at all. And then there was like a big shift actually. So before I keep going, I am going to switch over to my Olive Traveler's Notebook really briefly, because all these pages were done from March 2024 to about October of 2024. And November is actually in this book right here. How do I explain what happened? Basically, throughout like most of 2024, I was having like a lot of conflict and turmoil. That's the best way I can describe it. Like it makes it sound a lot more dramatic than it actually is. I had a lot of conflict regarding my journaling system while I was like working on and off in like my ugly sketchbook throughout the year. I felt so stilted with journaling, and like I was getting actually kind of stressed about it. And so when November started, I was like, girl, you need to lock in and just do something. So that's when I decided that I wanted to try and combine my journaling and my sketchbook system, because sometimes when I look at my sketches, it feels like a journal in itself. So I was like, why not just do all of it in one book? So that's what I started to do right here. So I started with a brand new fresh notebook. So there's, you know, obviously like a good bit of like journal doodling and like some junk journaling. So this is me like kind of talking about like my notebook system, drawings of like, you know, little guy's haul that I got, a little Smisky, a Miffy keychain, and then like a little packet of like Sunny Angel stickers. This is what I would call like my monthly micro journaling. This all started because I had an old Hobonichi Techo that was like pretty unfinished, but I still kind of wanted to like work in it. So I started redating all the daily pages, but then with the monthlies, I whited out all the days of the week, and then I filled them in with kind of like a currently doing category. And instead of working by like dates, I work by like weeks. So each week basically just gives me like a snapshot of what I was into or what I was doing or like up to at the time. And so like basically I just had like a week of like getting into the groove of like the system here before my mom suddenly passed away. She passed away at the beginning of November, so I literally just had a week in here. I think these are all the pages that I did that week, so up to here, and also like this first week of November. So after that, like obviously this November currently spread is just like, it's been sitting unfinished ever since, if I'm being honest. And I have notes written of what I would put in the squares, of what I would draw if I ever come back to this, but I didn't have the heart to like fill it out at the time, and I guess I kind of still don't. Like revisiting snapshots of like how I was doing after my mom passed, it's like this is something that I want to fill out just for like record's sake, but I don't know, I guess I still can't do it right now. But these like junk and scrapbook journaling entries were from like that first week. We did have our bathroom redone. That was like a whole saga that we went through. There was like a leak from our bathroom that went all the way down into like our living room that we were like dealing with throughout like the entire month of October. So this is the final result after getting our bathroom repaired, and then also kind of like sprucing it up with like new paint and features and things, some random sketches, and then some bad feelings at the beginning of November. They haven't gotten better, if we're being honest. Although at the time I was trying to stay like hopeful. There's just like a few unfinished pages from like bad days. I would like to finish one day again, like if only just to have like a record of it. But then we have some junk journaling pages from when I was in Vegas to sort of help sort stuff out with like my brother and my sister. And we also had some cousins and my aunt visited as well while I was in Vegas. So this is just stuff that we did during that time and like places that we went. And this was like after I came back. I think we like finally bought some reusable shopping bags from Trader Joe's. But otherwise, like I left this pretty quickly after I came back from Las Vegas. So even though I wasn't in my Olive Traveler's notebook for like that long, once I came back from Las Vegas, I really needed a change. So I actually went back to this B6 sketchbook, and then I turned this into like my all-in-one sketch journal instead. I think with everything in November, I just realized that this conflict that I was having over my journaling system and this idea of wanting to stay consistent in one notebook and have like this perfect system that was like as chronological as possible, it just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Just getting the thoughts down, pasting in the junk journal scraps, doing the sketches, indulging in the creative urges, like that's what really matters. Even if it might be out of order or like a little chaotic when I flip through it, like what does that matter? This is for me and like for no one else. So as long as I understand what's going on, like who cares? If what I felt at the time was like I needed to suddenly switch notebooks in order to do all of that, then I was just gonna let myself, because that's what I needed to be able to journal and draw and create, and it worked. Because once I made the decision to treat this as like my all-in-one sketch journal, I ended up filling up all these pages. This is more than half this notebook in just 2 months, which is kind of crazy for me. So of course I still treated this as a sketchbook in junk journaling. I also did my monthly micro journaling spreads, like the monthly currentlies. This basically just became the notebook that I reached for like anything. Commonplace journaling, quotes and whatnot, make little scribbles. So like these are like room measurements that I was taking because we went furniture shopping. I also use this to like get out like really horrible thoughts and feelings after losing my mother. It was helpful to get those thoughts out and put them in the words, and they weren't like very kind words to myself, and they're also like ones that are just like full of a lot of regrets. The worst of it is honestly on this page right here, but I put this like flip out page of like photos of my mother, I guess to cover up the worst of it, because even though I need to get those words out, I do think having her here, it's like a reminder to myself that she wouldn't want me to live like those bad thoughts and those regrets that I wrote down on this particular page. That's just not the kind of person that she was. That's like a reminder for me, and it's also just like a place for me to like have my mom in my journal too. And then we have some junk journaling spreads from when I went back to my hometown, where we had like my mom's memorial service. And even though it was like a really sad visit, it was also just really nice in a way, just to be around like family so close to like the winter holiday season, because that's the first time that we've done that in like a long while. We did spend Christmas with my friend's family, who were like really kind to have us over for the holiday dinner and celebrate with them. And it's like some scraps from like gifts that Slava got me, and then some gifts that we got the dogs. And yeah, even with like all the terrible stuff, it was still like a really wonderful like holiday season. So the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Like that's what this journal is like pretty much like encapsulating now. This was meant to be a quick like 2024 summary spread, because yeah, like dang, what a year. I haven't finished it. I am planning on finishing it, so stay tuned for part 2 where we do a journal with me. So this is gonna be my 2024 summary spread, and then we get into January. There's my January currently spread. I actually decided to try something different this time, where I actually had like 1 week's currently kind of spread into the other, because I was still listening to like the same song. So that was like an interesting experiment. I might try some more of that later. And then we have like more journaling and more sketching. My first studio vlog of this year, I turned this sketch into a finished piece, and in some ways this was the first real drawing that I did after losing my mom, and I think that it encapsulates like a lot of the emotions I was feeling at the time, and how I felt losing her affected me, and like how I've been approaching this like process of creating and like appreciating the little things in life now. And then starting here, I did a lot of morning pages in January, and I think that's actually the biggest contributor of like how I ended up finishing this journal as fast as I did. I don't know, just a lot of like thoughts and feelings to get out. I did try to actually do it every day. Like man, these morning pages really made me confront some stuff that I don't like looking too long at, to be honest. Like I do think that is what I really truly needed at this time, and this might have been like what helped me the most through some of like the hardest months that I've ever had to go through. A lot of times actually, also when I did my morning pages, I did sometimes pull a tarot card to kind of jumpstart journaling my morning pages. I think that actually sped up sometimes like the process of moving past the like surface level topics and into like the uncomfy self-analytical type stuff like a lot faster. But then also I would journal like my larger tarot readings. So apparently like, you know, the collective tarot card of the year for 2025 is the Hermit, and then like my own personal tarot card of the year is the Hanged Man. So I did this sketch kind of inspired by those 2 cards, although I would say that it leans much heavier on the side of the Hanged Man. Some more acrylic paint pen experiments that are kind of like themed around this tarot reading. On this like scrappy little page, I did do like a little bit of like a style study of how a particular artist like draws their landscapes, because I love their hatching style. It was like a nice experiment just to try out. A quick graphic pencil landscape study. Honestly, this is just like a very generally like unfinished looking spread, but I really don't mind it. More morning pages. Something that I did start to do in my morning pages is that if I recounted something that happened, usually it was something funny or that I found like memorable in like a good way, I would draw a little square around that bit just as a way to like kind of call out and like mark down that this is something that I might want to like make like a little diary comic of later, or like a little moment that I want to remember. I have some notes on like the Louise Carmen customizations that I wanted to do because I did order that for my birthday, which was around this time. Another unfinished sketch page. This is actually sort of like a diary comic of like what was on my birthday wish list, so I guess I'll finish this out soon too. So with my morning pages, because I knew it was always going to be 3 pages for each day, I would just tend to like pre-decorate in advance in like multiples of like 3, just so I could like hop in and just start writing whenever I needed to. And yeah, that just kind of like allowed me to just do it like pretty quickly, especially if I felt like I was pretty crunched on time, so I needed to write down the 3 pages as quickly as possible. This is a page that I marked out as like a free space kind of page for me to like do whatever I wanted to in. Sometimes I'll just like paste in papers in case I wanted to do something with it. This was like a little junk journaling spread from my birthday mull date that I had with Slava. And it's just like all the receipts and like little packaging that I received that day, and then like a little photo. And that is pretty much it. I decided to end this journal at the end of January, and then I hopped into my Louise Carmen at the start of February. However, as you can see, I have a few lingering bits and like photos that I've just kind of like tucked into these pages, and I haven't finished laying them out here. So now to finally and officially finish out the sketch journal, which will be in part 2 of this video. This journal has been like really special to me. I would say it's literally gotten me through some of the hardest months of my life. There's just like a beauty in like being able to look back on all of that, you know, like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Even though like, you know, if I just kind of like think back on that period, it does feel overwhelmingly sad. This journal is literally proof that there was a lot of good and happy moments to be found in between all of that bad. So I'm kind of really thankful for that. So I'm really happy that I could share this sketch journal today with you guys. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today and listening to all my rambling. If you've made it this far and you enjoyed this journal tour, then maybe consider leaving a little like if you feel so inclined, and subscribe if you want to see more. And stay tuned because, like I said, part 2 will be a journal with me where I finish up all like those little pages and spreads that are still sitting a little unfinished in this book. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.